On Saturday, November 25th, we mark the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. As we speak, there are voices in Canada saying that there were not enough evidence for violence against women on October 7th, while Hamas terrorists crossed the border and attacked communities in Israel. After the attack, one of the first organizations on the ground was ZAKA. ZAKA is the Israeli search and rescue organization, been acknowledged by the United Nations as well. And we spoke with Simcha Grainaman, currently in charge of the South Division for ZAKA, near the border with Gaza. Hello, Simcha Grainaman. You are currently the head of ZAKA South Division. You were the first on the ground. What did you see related to violence against women?
First of all, my main question is why, I would say 85% of the women that came to the morgues to be checked in Shura were naked. Well, we brought the bodies from different houses, different places. And I would say around close to 75 or 85% of the women were naked. So that's not a question. If some of them were raped, and some of them were in different situations. We saw with our own eyes, and I dealt and I took care of all those bodies that I'll tell you the stories. Basically, when I came into one of the houses in Be'eri, there was a woman half naked leaning on her bed. I mean, she was not laying totally on her bed, she was leaning. That means she was bended down on her bed. She was half naked from her waist down. And she was shot in her head, behind her head. But when we turned her over to lay her down on the floor, because the way of putting a person into a body bag, we have to lay them down. So we laid her down. We came to lay her down on the floor. She had an open grenade in her hand. So thank God we didn't blow up the same time that we laid her down. But you need to understand that if a woman's half naked in her own bedroom, shot in her head, holding a grenade in her hand, there's no question she was raped or she was abused in a certain way. This is things that we dealt with. I have evidence, pictures of women that were stabbed in different ways from the waist down. We have pictures and evidence of pieces of metal stuck into different places in their body. We have pictures and different things to show that women they cut the breasts off. And you're asking me if it's true or not true? We have everything on pictures. And it's not something that someone decided to make up or make stories. These are things that we dealt with our own hands. And there's no question that if someone thinks they can come and start saying stories that nothing happened, they can come to Israel and see for their own eyes all the pictures and all the evidence. We have everything to prove it.
These are horrible stories, and I want to ask you, you mentioned that 75% of the women went to, you took bodies to check for evidence of rape, or were you
all
asking?
The bodies that
yes.
Yeah, all the bodies we collected from different places, from different kibbutzim, from different places in the highways, on the party area. Most of those bodies all the bodies came to a place called Shura. That's a place that over there they take all the DNA samples, they check to see which bodies whose, to be able to bury them. And as I said, 75% of the women, not the men, the women were naked.
That's pretty amazing.
Well, you can say a lot of people sleep without pajamas. But to sleep without pajamas, so let's say 20% of the population would sleep without pajamas, but why 75 were naked? Oh, why a big amount of girls from the party were totally stripped and brutal and tied to trees naked? These are things that we dealt with.
And now when we are almost 50 days after those atrocities you're describing, are you still recovering bodies on ground?
No, there's no bodies around any place. All the bodies were taken to the morgue to make sure that they get buried. But we still are missing a lot of people. We have a big amount of people that were burned to death in their own houses. And in these houses, we have special forces sitting, and we have to sift all the ashes to be able to find bones or to find teeth, to be able to identify whoever lived in that house. So that's my job. From 2 weeks after the war started, after we finished collecting all the bodies, until today, even today I was still working there. That's my job. I collect all the evidence. I make sure that nothing is left behind. All the blood samples, all the tissue, all the bones, teeth, whatever we find, I make sure it comes, and we have to make sure that everything comes to burial. But over here, there's no question. We have the proof. Now, do we have to show it? Do we have to try talking the world into it? Let them come and see it. Let them come and see it. I invite anyone that wants to come and join me for 1 week to go around Otef and to see what we're dealing with. The houses are burned down and all the scenes full of blood. And if they really, really want to still see the pictures, you can show them the pictures also. You don't need to be a blind person for this situation. But if you really, really want to see it, you're always invited.
So Simcha, you said that you were there today as well, because this is your everyday. What did you do there today? Tell me about your one day today.
My day today, I came to Kfar Aza, and we had another 2 scenes that we found more blood spread in different places. So before the families want to come back to the houses, maybe not to live there, but they need their own belongings. They're staying in hotels in different places around the country, and they need their stuff. They need clothes. It's the changing of the season, so it's raining now. Oh, last week it was too cold, so they need different clothing. So they have to take it out of the house. And every house they want to come in, we have to make sure that there's nothing left there. Enough of the trauma that they went through then, they don't need to see it again and again when they walk into their own house. So we have to clean and make sure that really nothing stays. And to make sure that nothing stays, that I need to be there to sign on that house. So every day I go from place to place, house to house, and I make sure that my superiors worked and did the right job. And I need to sign on it to make sure that whoever comes after me into the house come into a normal house, that they could feel comfortable and not scared and not traumatized from seeing what they really see. They didn't care. They came into different places in the country, in Alumim. They slaughtered 28 foreign workers from Thailand. They slaughtered them. They shot them in the legs, and then they slaughtered them, and they left them to die. And when I came into the houses over there, some houses were burned. You couldn't even identify the bodies afterwards. Some of the houses, there were puddles. I walked into one of the rooms, and there was a puddle. I stepped into a gigantic puddle. It was like a small step when you come into the dining area. And I almost slipped on the floor because I stepped into a gigantic puddle of blood. There were 7 bodies in that room. They got shot in the legs when they tried running away, and then they walked over one by one and they slaughtered the neck. And they left him to bleed out.
There were also
so it doesn't.
So this you're talking about, not
I'm
only
saying
Israeli Jewish.
It's not only Israelis or Jewish people.
And also Muslims were being attacked and slaughtered by Hamas terrorists, right?
People that used to work for Israelis. I collected on route number 34 a van full of Palestinian guys that were shot by their own Hamas guys.
What do you mean Palestinian guys? Where are they from? They came from where?
From Gaza. From Gaza itself. They came to work. Palestinians that came to work in Israel. They were
on a work permit. They crossed the border and
they had a green ID. They had a green ID with a permit to work in Israel. And I saw the video. I had to see. I was shocked when I saw those guys in the van killed. I said to myself, they killed their own people? No, can't be.
Maybe so you watched the video from the car, or which video?
I watched the video
to make sure you know who is actually who was slaughtering
exactly. Who. Someone video. It's not someone on the route itself. Route 34. There's cameras for traffic cameras.
Yeah, so that was a traffic camera that was captured. The
traffic camera catched exactly what happened over there. You see 5 terrorists jumping out of a van, open van, and they just stop all the cars on the road, and they start shooting, and they kill their own people. Well, you can call them family, even.
Yeah. But knowingly that these are Palestinian came from Gaza on a work permit.
They had a Palestinian number on their van, and it's very well. It's not. You can't make a mistake when you see a Palestinian person from Gaza. They look a little bit different than Israelis. Well, if you would say,
you definitely want to say one can identify their own kind, right?
For sure. If you meet a Israeli Arab, as they were called, Aravim Israelim, yeah. So you would be seeing a regular person that you would meet in the street. You would say, okay, maybe he lives in Yafo, maybe he lives in Ramle, maybe he lives in Akko, but the population in Gaza itself, the mentality is different. So they saw them, and they saw them as traitors working with the Israelis.
Exactly. And I want to ask you one last question. Have you also seen some of the terrorist bodies that you've been recovered? What can you speak about them? Are they all really seems like they are from Gaza, or I've heard some different?
Not only.
Okay.
Not only from Gaza. We found in some of their pockets, they had different IDs from different countries around the world.
Which are you not able to provide this information? Where are they from?
I can't
leave it to our imagination. We will do a good job about that.
They were from different countries around the world.
So they've had forces came to help.
They had forces from out of Gaza coming to from different countries, helping them, training them, and they were using different kind of ammunition to burn the bodies in the cars. Not after they shot them, they threw grenades, and with the grenades itself, they threw different bombs or different things into the car. So the bones were burned so bad that when we tried picking up the bones, it crumpled in our hands, became ashes. So it's so hard to identify so many people because you don't have anything. The only country in the world that has a special simulator to check and to be able to identify is America. After 9/11, that the whole Twin Towers burned down, yes, they made a special system to be able to identify from ashes. So Israel is now sending to America to get some support and help to try to identify some of these bodies. To bring a machine from America to Israel, it takes a very long time, and something that you can't just bring over. And to build one of these machines takes more than 7 months. So no one's going to be waiting for 7 months just to try to find answers for these things.
Definitely. Simcha Grainaman, thank you very much for this valuable information. You are the head of currently ZAKA South Division, in charge of all the recovery from the Israeli communities been affected on October 7th. Thank you very much for this conversation.
Thank you. And Am Yisrael Chai.